Hey, Danielle, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining me. Would you mind just taking a few minutes to introduce yourself and your initiative?
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me to do the interview. I'm thrilled. My name is Danielle Varda. I'm the CEO of Visible Network Labs. We are a data science and technology company that provides a platform to collect complex data on systems, but turn it back into actionable strategies for companies and communities so that they can kind of make sense of their world and solve big problems.
Well, speaking of problems, I'm sure you faced a lot of them. Could you tell us about one particular challenge that you've been fortunate to overcome?
Yeah, the list is long. Challenges when running a business have come at me as learning lessons all along the way. I came from a university setting. I'm also a professor. I've been a scientist for a long time. And when I launched Visible Network Labs, I knew I had kind of a big task ahead of me in terms of figuring out how to run a business, be a CEO, while running with this idea that I loved so much. We decided to bootstrap, and we didn't really decide to bootstrap, actually. Bootstrapping was an opportunity that has presented itself, and we've really nailed it, I think. So we run a tech platform. Running software as a service has been something that we realize is probably not going to be the thing that's going to drive us to the place that we really want to be, without some way to be able to supplement that revenue with other kinds of ways of bringing money in, selling things related to the technology. So what we ended up being able to do was take our technology, take our data science and our system, and figure out what kinds of services we could wrap around it that people just really couldn't live without. So as data scientists, we not only provide a way for folks to get data into a platform and get it out, but we really, I think, nailed that people need to make sense of data. And so as a company, we decided to invest some of our resources in a team of folks that could do some training, some work for people to report out for them, to translate that data back into practice. And it just took our revenues to where we needed to be so that we could grow exponentially over the last couple of years, and then pay all of our bills and not really have to give away any of our equity while we've done it. All of that has presented a new challenge, which is we've gotten a ton of traction. We're ready to scale. We've got a plan in place for what we would do if we were to grow quickly, but we can't really do that through a bootstrapping model. So we're just at a really pivotal place right now where we're thinking about fundraising versus bootstrapping, and weighing all the kind of costs and benefits right now of each approach. So we could go as we are, and we could continue on, and we could see growth, I think, in the business as we continue to actually implement the business model that we have in place. But it's not really going to let us go to the next level. So it's just kind of the challenge of bootstrapping can keep you going for a while. But I think there's a pivotal moment when a company has to make a decision about where you really want to go. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, let me ask, have you come across any resources or any books, any articles that might help other entrepreneurs that are bootstrapping now or thinking about bootstrapping indefinitely versus raising money? Any helpful resources that you would point people to?
We did, I think this feels kind of cheesy. I am like a huge fan of Masters of Scale, and it's a podcast, Reid Hoffman's, and I've learned so much. Actually, I took a walk this morning and listened to their, what you have to do if you have to lay off 200 people, in a couple of days' time because you're in the middle of a pandemic. I never thought that I'd need to know those kinds of insights, but for me, I'm a big podcast listener. So I've listened to a number of different podcasts and on growing businesses, learning, from, I think, folks who have talked about the mistakes they've made. But in terms of bootstrapping, I don't know. I guess I should say, I don't think that I've learned as much from others as I have from just my own instincts and watching the market a little bit and watching, trying to rely on my intuition of where the need is for the customer, and not necessarily letting fear get the better of us in terms of trying to be creative, trying to experiment with new products or features on our platform that we think can sell. And so I think we have design thinking as part of our DNA, my team and I. And so, I've listened, I think I've listened to all the right podcasts. I've read all of the right books, but it's my intuition and I think deep understanding of the people who we're trying to serve, and really hearing the kinds of things that they need. I've been challenged by a lot of people saying to us, oh, are you talking to us about how services don't make us really a scalable company? And I think that is true if we were a consulting firm and that's what we were doing and we did data science as a product. But I think where we've been really creative is we took our software system and we created some services around it that has maintained us down that path. So, and I also, my background is in the nonprofit sector. And so when I came from the nonprofit sector, it's funny because I think some folks think like, oh, well, folks in the nonprofit sector wouldn't really know how to run a big business, but I can almost guarantee there is no more scrappy kind of workforce than the folks in the nonprofit sector. And you learn really early on to do a lot with a very little amount. And you kind of learn to fight for what you want and until you get it, and you don't really give up. And so while those are the traits that I think of in terms of what an entrepreneur is, I think that the work that the values that I learned, the integrity, the discipline, and just the drive of trying to make an entity thrive when you don't even have a similar infrastructure that you might have in a private sector company has been a real asset to come into the work with. So I guess I have to say, Jeff, honestly, like my learning has not come from the looking at one source, but by being someone who has been willing to jump across professions almost in a way. I'm a mother of 3 little girls, and they don't let you sit still. I'm a professor. I've been a researcher. I'm a network scientist. And now I'm a CEO of a company. And I think that when you look at all of the different kinds of skills and resources that you get when you put yourself in all of these positions that are new and different all of the time, you come out like as this kind of unique, with a unique set of learning that you really can't get if you're not willing to kind of take that leap and make that kind of jump off the ledge, sometimes. So
that's awesome. I mean, a lot of great advice there. Just to wrap things up, where can all of the listeners here learn more about Visible Network Labs? I know we've talked briefly about maybe you coming in and being the headline for a TiE event. We'd absolutely love that. But where can everyone learn more about Visible Network Labs and what you're doing?
So we're at visiblenetworklabs.com. And I'll plug something. We have a blog called Visible Us, and the blog has a bunch of resources for folks who are trying to kind of understand networks in today's world. There's a bunch of videos and resources for that kind of stuff. And we host our own events as well. So we run events all year so that if you want to kind of geek out on networks and how to incorporate the science into the work and the workflow that you do, look us up on our event page, and we have all kinds of things that we put on year round.
Great. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to share your knowledge with the TiE community.
Thank you for having me.
Mentorship Minutes are just one way TiE Denver fosters Colorado entrepreneurship. We're part of a global network of 60 chapters with over 15,000 members. Our goal is to be the leading mentorship organization, providing connections, capability, and capital for Colorado entrepreneurs.